Tony. Okay, now this is a picture of him. That's his website, Radiant Green. We're going to go through a couple of things today. Okay, we're going to talk about cholesterol and kidney function, if that is important to anyone, and blood function. Okay, so it's going to be kind of interesting. Now, a lot of this, we had to start another YouTube channel. Oh, and in fact, what was kind of interesting, this one, True Health Tuesdays, is going to be another one. We were just kicked off 2 days ago on TikTok. And I know what you're thinking, TikTok is just bad cats and people doing twerking, okay? I thought it was weird to be on there too, okay? But we started with like 50,000 people because we were popular, got it up to 90,000, and I talked about non-controversial subjects, I thought. But since it's run by the Chinese Communist Party, I guess they didn't like me. And I just found out that the Chinese Communist Party, if you say anything against them, that they can actually go into your own country and take you out. So, but I'm not going to say anything against that. I just found that out. Mm. You notice how I just said something against it? Okay, yeah, okay, here's the one Mandarin I know, Bu Yao Pa, Bu Yao Pa. Don't worry. Okay, we also have the Dr. B VIP channel. Okay, this is where we put all of the censored stuff because we are going to talk about some health, and then we're going to talk about things that we can't talk about in the environment that we're at. Doc, do you remember being able to freely speak, not on television, because he's been on television everywhere, but without censorship?
Yeah, when I lived in Ireland, you know, when I lived back home with my family, we could say and do anything we wanted, and I used to see notices in the paper, the truth in the news, and I believed what I saw on television, and now the whole world is being turned upside down. We don't know what's what. There's disinformation, there's misinformation, there's editing of one's words, there's manipulation, there's all sorts of dogma going on, and so we can't say what we want to say, because if you say something that somebody else doesn't like, then all of a sudden you're a bad guy.
Okay, did anybody in here have family members they can't really tell the truth to? Brother, I know. I know everybody is raising their hand, okay? Okay, so now this is the site where it's going to be on, and God bless everyone that's supporting us there. I really appreciate it. Extreme Health Academy, you still get the 2 weeks of it for free. Bergman 14 is your code. It's going to be a blast. Oh, and also, too, on the Dr. B VIP, this month's apprenticeship program is on, okay, this sounds kind of like a nerdy thing. We have an apprenticeship class. It's the last Thursday of every month. Okay, it's on the Dr. B VIP. It's live, and there's a 30-minute question and answer. And it's a doctorate level, worded down to regular people so we can speak, you know, non-Latin terms. We're going to talk about spleen, kidney, and liver function and how they interact to hormone production in blood. Now, I thought that would be cool. Okay, but you're going to be blown away with it. Okay, and then Extreme Health Academy, where I was on there for 2 hours this past week. Amazing, but get on there if you have any health questions. Cholesterol, okay? Currently, this is one of the subjects that we can speak about. So, Dr. Tony, I've heard there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol.
Yes, good radio and bad radio. That's what I was told when I was growing up. So, rock and roll or heavy metal.
There's only one type of cholesterol. Okay?
LDL, low density lipoproteins, and HDL, technically, which we're told is the good protein, good cholesterol,
yeah,
which is the protein. So you want to make sure they tell us. That's what the media tells us. You know, manipulation is so powerful, being in the media a lot myself on national TV. They've used the media to manipulate and to convey a message and to condition you. And when they condition you, they can get you to do just about anything they want you to do, as we have experienced over the last 2.5 years.
It's mind-blowing. There's only one type of cholesterol. There's 2 different types of protein carriers. Cholesterol is vital. It's 50% of the overall weight of the brain. It's the precursor to every hormone you're going to make. Okay, without cholesterol, you die.
I think my hormones are low today. Can you fix it?
Well, what's interesting, okay, now, 1 out of 4, 25% of Americans 55 and older. And I know you're not over 55,
Way over 55.
Okay, we're both the same age. Okay. I'm telling you, anybody that's like 55 or something, 62 is way more fun. Okay,
It's the Irish
it just
whiskey.
is.
It's the Irish whiskey.
It's
See, I'm slurring my words.
and it's not just for breakfast.
It's Bushmills.
So 1 in 4 are taking a drug that lowers your cholesterol. So this means the doctor, in their ignorance and arrogance, is giving you a chemical that damages that. Triglycerides. Okay, has anyone ever heard of triglycerides?
Bad fats. That's
Okay.
what you're told.
It's weird because the body never does anything unintelligently. But let's say you take nutrients in your system that you can't metabolize. Okay, your body's not going to get rid of it. Okay, it's going to try and utilize it in every way we can because we're designed to function on this planet. And so what happens if you're taking in too many nutrients? Like, has anyone ever heard that arteries get clogged? Right? Yeah. Okay. How come veins don't get clogged? Just for the heck of it, if you utilize medical care for health, which I really don't recommend, it should be used for emergencies. But if some doctor says, yes, you have plaquing in the arteries, ask them, why don't veins plaque? Okay, and so this is the key. You've got muscular layer in the arteries that constrict and dilate. So the arteries are actually a pump to help the blood flow, but it also shuts it down when you're under stress or opens it up when you're under stress based on where it's going to go. So you have little blood vessels of the blood vessels. Okay, but the Latin term's way prettier. It's vasovasorums.
Little tiny capillaries.
Little tiny, and these guys are amazing because they got to supply the muscles. The triglycerides can actually damage those vasovasorums, and so then the body, if you weaken a blood vessel, like say the descending aorta, that baby breaks, you're dead in about 3-4 minutes. Okay, so the body's always monitoring to make sure that the arteries are protected. And the triglycerides can actually damage it. But it's literally too many calories taken in the body and toxic calories that you can't metabolize. So you're really creating it yourself. Now, these drugs, and we're looking at a couple of blood pressure drugs, we're looking at some steroids, we're looking at everything, raise triglycerides. Why? Because it's actually damaging how your body is breaking down nutrients. Now, what kind? If somebody comes to you and they say, "Oh, I got high cholesterol," or "I got high what do you tell them?
Well, I tell them, obviously you work with your doctor because most physicians don't I'm talking about medical doctors don't want you working with anybody other than them. So if you go off and try to do your own thing, that's a no-no. They're going to tell you how bad that actually is. So it's all about being mindful in your approach to your health, taking responsibility and educating yourself. And don't just take the word of someone who in authority with a stethoscope and a white jacket with his name or her name imprinted on it. And so they are acting as God, as they've been doing for such a long time. And I have respect for a lot of doctors because a lot of my friends are medical doctors, but they've been wrong about so many things, but are reluctant to admit. So what I do, natural remedies.
Well, this is the censored portion, so you can't talk about a whole bunch of medical interventions that might not be based in science that a lot of people are opting for. So just I'm going to keep it above board so we don't get
just
kicked
hit me
off
on the
too
side of the
much.
head and when I step out of line.
Okay, he's a black belt in Taekwondo. I don't think I should do that.
I'm taller than you. So what do? We just got to really have a different approach to your health, really.
Yeah.
Look at things, educate yourself. It's your body, it's your real estate. You own the zip code, so you got to start asking questions and be informed. That's really what it's all about.
Honest to God, the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions. If somebody says, well, my doctor says my blood pressure is high, really? Why? If he can't answer that, fire him. Okay, if you got a mechanic working on your car and they say, yeah, it's smoking, but we don't know what's wrong with it. I got a bunch of therapies though for it. Fire him. Okay, find the real thing. I mean, look at this. 2 different types of blood pressure drugs are going to elevate triglycerides. Triglycerides damage the arteries. That's foolishness. What's loaded inside of the kidneys? Lots of arteries. Okay, and we were talking about kidneys. Now, blood is brand new every 120 days. Okay, hugely important. Now you get under oxygen or low oxygen levels, the kidneys sense this, and they produce erythropoietin. The long bones start to produce it. Then they last 120 days. Then they go by the spleen. The spleen sends the red blood cells over to the liver to make bile, to emulsify the fat, so nothing's lost. I mean, this is a beautiful system.
Digestion, so it's crucial.
If somebody comes in and they say they have anemia, okay, or they're diagnosed with low red blood cell count, what kind of stuff do you tell them?
Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is the blood of plants with almost an identical molecular structure as hemoglobin, which is the blood of human beings. And basically what that means is when we harness the energy of sunshine, and when the sunshine hits the plants, it actually turns them green. So when you take that into your body, it detoxifies, it balances, it actually nourishes, it feeds the cells at the cellular level without actually causing any harm whatsoever. And in the process, it actually starts to give you a very strong immunity. So the further away, Dr. John, we get from the land, the sicker we become, and the closer we stay to the land, the healthier we become. This is why you look back at the history of our country. When we advocate a plant-based diet, we have so much more abundance and such better health.
You mean you're actually designed to live here? So
Yes.
Think of this. A lot of cultures, okay, I grew up, you prayed over your food, not just to thank God for giving it to you, but because it's going to be coming you. So you're going to become that Carl's Jr. burger.
You sound Southern when you say that.
Well, my mom, she spent a lot of time in Texas.
Well, I just came back from North Carolina and South Carolina.
Oh.
And people keep asking me, Irish, are you from the South? I said, the South of Ireland.
So you're advocating nutrients and supplements, because if your blood is brand new every 120 days.
That's alive. That's energetic. That's alive. Because when you heat anything over 110, 115 degrees Fahrenheit, you destroy enzymatic activity and consequently the future life of the plant. So yes, dark leafy greens, red colored superfoods, they all provide significant nutrients for the body, and that's what we need.
Okay, I gotta show you. Okay, here's some videos. Okay,
Awesome.
The one on the right is a somewhat normal live blood cell sample. Now you think about blood, it's amazing. It's like two Frisbees because it's a biconcave disc. So it holds oxygen, transfers nutrients, balances pH. It's the most beautiful structure ever. And everybody's got 6 million of these inside of their system. Gives you life. It's incredible.
Without it, you just simply can't live.
And so if blood is not healthy, you don't have oxygen in the tissue. If you're in a stressed state, the blood doesn't work right. So if you go to a doctor and they say, wow, there's a problem with your blood, oh my gosh, this is everything. Mm-hmm. Now the one on the left, that's actually stress. Now the red blood cells, they're like electronegative magnets. And we put two magnets of the same, they kind of repel each other. That's beautiful. But when you're in any kind of stress state, you can't absorb nutrients.
Negative coagulation, right?
Exactly. And this means that under stress, you don't produce stomach acid, you can't absorb minerals,
Can't
so
digest.
the cells start to clump together. They clump together, they don't work right. Now see the lines in the back of the second one there? That's fibrin formation. That means this person's been under some kind of trauma. This one's really trauma. Yeah.
This is an island off the coast of Ireland. where everybody's drunk and smoking cigarettes and they're eating lots of meat.
Well,
genetically modified food.
When you're getting this, and that's kind of true, because
this is wear and tear right here. This is like wear and tear in your carpet at your home. This is wear and tear of your body, right?
Toxicity and deficiency. So just think of this. What if you were given a stressful lifestyle? And this is physical, chemical, emotional stress. Low blood cells, that is what it results in. And this is literally blood clumping. And people say, well, you need the aspirin to deal with the blood clots. It's not a blood clot, it's a blood clumping. Okay, this is actually that the cells can't hold oxygen. Now, just think about this. You've got this stuff, this stress blood that's supposed to hold oxygen, and it's all from stress. And there's only 3 stressors: physical, chemical, emotional.
This is the perfect storm right there.
Here's one: blood viscosity. That means the thickness of the blood. Under emotional stress, it increases. So the body is intelligent, because when you're going into battle, are you stressed? Maybe. You should be if you're intelligent. So the blood becomes a little bit more viscous.
Oh, you don't go in the first place?
Yeah, you understand we're all built by God, and that, that person that you're going to fight actually has a mother or might be a father or something. See the God in other people and you won't hurt anyone.
That's the truth.
Okay, it makes better. But now you're going to push that thick stuff through the kidney. Okay, the functional unit's a nephron. It's supposed to have one cell thick where one cell goes down there. But if you have increased blood viscosity, what does this do to the kidney?
Weakens it dramatically.
Now, you got 6 quarts of blood going through that kidney. Okay,
It's unable to filter because there's too much sludge. It's like your toilet not being able to flush properly.
Well,
It's backing up.
Wait a second. So if you can't get the blood through there because the blood's thick, what has to happen to blood pressure?
It's got to go up.
You mean high blood pressure doesn't damage the kidneys? That's why they don't have warning labels on bicycles at gyms? Your blood pressure may go up, don't ride this? That high blood pressure is actually an adaptation to the efficiency of the blood and the kidney function?
And the innate intelligence, because it's aware of what's actually going on. So the body is self-healing, as Dr. John always talks about, self-generating. So if you create a situation like this is the perfect storm. This can cause a cascade of problems, particularly as it relates to a weakened immune system and compromised in various different ways.
But you mean the doctor's not smarter than the body's response to stress? I know. I'm being the devil's advocate. Okay, it's not hard, not easy for me. Okay.
Well, you know, with all due respect to our doctors, many of them have not had very little schooling as it relates to natural, non-toxic, affordable, effective remedies. So there are different approaches, and if you look at different cultures from around the world, as you know, there's different approaches. Sleep, meditation, prayer, all those things, yoga, Pilates.
Patty, you are my goal for connecting with people. I get a little bit more caustic. The doctors, the medical education now, currently it's run by the pharmaceutical industry. Your environment
I call it the cartel.
You get nasty when you should. I like that.
Stop it.
Okay, and the media is run by the pharmaceutical industry. So these people are indoctrinated in a religion to not respect that their body has natural processes and natural adaptations. And you're talking about chlorophyll is the blood of plants, and we should actually think about what we're putting on our system. But if you have bad history, you know, kidney damage, blood pressure issues, digestive issues, those are all adaptations, and your body can regenerate.
Yeah, your body's a temple, a place where you go and you give thanks for the gifts that our Creator provides for us, and so why poison it? And we do that on a daily basis with the dietary choices that we make, and of course the emotions that we attach to that as well. This causes a cascade of problems, as you well know.
So emotions are, like we just saw, increases viscosity.
Yes,
So
very much so. No sleep, you know, on that fight or flight syndrome at all times this is what we did to our troops when they went to Vietnam to the war. They gave them lots of adrenaline shots, and these kids were going in there at 17 years old. Some even lied on their application, and they thought they could take on the entire world. And some came back, and some did not. The ones that came back, all were very, very sick, particularly as it relates to cardiovascular disease at a tender age of 21, 22, and of course cancer, which is very sad.
it's interesting. They were using amphetamines also in World War II. And we use it on our teenagers and Adderall.
Yeah, for sure.
It's called kiddie cocaine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and stimulant actually has a calming effect on children.
Yeah.
Okay. I know!
It's like Saturday Night Live here.
Surely the American Medical Association. Okay, if you take an aspirin a day, because what do they say? Aspirin a day for a healthy heart will keep you good. I know it's the leading cause of kidney disease, but 450% increase in gastrointestinal complications, that sounds bad. But blood thinning, so we know that physical, chemical, emotional stress will thicken blood. What kind of things thin blood?
Well, when you take stuff like this, when you are programmed on a daily basis, 10 to 20,000 commercials a week happening in newspapers, social media, television, and radio, and we're told to take this, and some of the leading minds in our country and authorities in our country are telling you, take this, take this, take this. So the side effects are, of course, blood in the stomach. You're bleeding from your GI tract. And of course, we want to make sure that we now know that the gut is considered our second brain. So if you damage the gut, you damage the digestive system, you damage the GI tract, you damage the kidneys. And of course, then again, as I mentioned earlier, you have a whole cascade of different problems. There are natural ways to fix this, as some of the longest lived people whom I've met around the world. I can tell you about that a little later.
Yeah, there's one chemical that's a really good blood thinner or a substance. It's dihydrogen monoxide. And people have died from being around this, but it's 70% of your body. Dihydrogen monoxide is H2O, water.
Water, yeah.
Yes, you can drown in it.
It is your
Okay, but it's
greatest
the
drink.
best blood thinner you got.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like amazing.
So when you get all that blood viscosity, as Dr. John mentioned, you get this big sludge in your body, then the body can't function. Your thyroid's not working right, your immune system's not working right, you have no energy, you're cold all the time, and you simply cannot function if there's too much sludge.
So if you're abdicating authority over your health to a pharmaceutical Pez dispenser, for those Pez dispensers, it's a little candy thing where the head would come up and a candy thing would come out, okay? It's really disgusting, okay? But
We're gonna start waking up and thinking for ourselves for a change.
yeah, you know, imagine, you know, just think of what your body is built by, okay? If your body is rebuilding blood every 120 days, if your skin's every 28 days brand new, you can regenerate. Now, this is
I'm
a
looking
study.
forward to my new blood coming right up. I think I should be due in a couple of days. Is that okay?
It's continuous, brother, continuous.
I love it.
Now, this one, okay, and this is out of the National Institute for Research and Technology. If 100,000 people took an aspirin a day, 33 lives would be saved. You would lose about 100 people would die from gastrointestinal bleeding, about 9 people would die from stroke. So water is the best blood thinner. You don't want thin blood, you want healthy blood. How do you get healthy blood? You put healthy nutrients in the system, and you have healthy stress levels.
Beautiful red corpuscles, that's what you're looking for. And of course, water is just phenomenal for you, but we don't do that. We just don't drink enough water. We're the most overfed, undernourished, over-medicated nation in the world.
Wait a second.
And water's the last thing we think of.
If you were overfed, and we just read that triglycerides come from excess calories that you can't utilize, that would mean triglycerides are elevated.
Very much so.
If you're dehydrated, and actually high fructose corn syrup, genetically modified high fructose corn syrup, is the #1 source of calories in America, that means your blood would be really crappy.
Really bad, because the excess carbohydrates got nowhere to go. They got to go somewhere, because the basal metabolic rate slows down significantly, and when the basal metabolic rate slows down significantly, you have a backup, just like your bathroom toilet. It backs up all the waste, and so you have a problem.
So if you're in that environment, then the arteries could get damaged and they could be clogged.
Very much so.
And if you didn't understand that arteries can be cleaned, okay, that Linus Pauling actually developed it, look at orthomolecular. Linus Pauling developed it where it's like vitamin C and L-lysine, so it's not any kind of weird thing you got to do. Okay, but that means that the arteries could be damaged. So what if they did a medical intervention of putting a wire cage inside of an artery to expand the artery out? We could call it a stent.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. One of the most dangerous things you could actually have happen to the body, because when they break, and they do, because I see it all the time, and I know you do, I mean, literally, you have to be rushed to the emergency room. You may make it, you may not. That's a real issue.
You mean if you're just going to put a wire cage in the artery without looking at the diet or lifestyle or toxicity or deficiency that the person's exposed to? Is that why those stents about 80% clog within 5 years?
Exactly, because it doesn't work. They know it doesn't work. And again, of course, it's the more procedures. You know, my sister's a nurse back in my native Ireland, and she said, you know, they're told, get as many patients as you can in here, because they make so much money, these hospitals. The whole role of these hospitals is to generate as much income as possible, as indeed the cartel is.
And this is interesting too, because you know when they say hospitals are filling up, yeah, if the hospitals have less than 70% occupancy, they can't make their money. They can't do it. So they're always at 80% occupancy.
Just like our prisons. It's a whole system. It's a whole system. It's all about money. It's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about economics. It's all about economics, and it's really, really sad. So I think it's time for all of us, Dr. Bergman, as you do here so gracefully at your wonderful office, it's time for us to take responsibility and really start taking charge and taking our life and our health back and making new choices, because you are your choices.
The quality of life depends on the questions you ask.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, this is bitching. Okay, number one, I mean, okay.
There's a sauce called bitchin' sauce.
I know.
I like it.
I actually like
It's
it too.
good. It didn't hit me back.
But it's from my upbringing, okay?
I love it.
I grew up in Southern California. Diabetes type 2, okay, #1 cause of kidney issues. Why do you think the blood's really healthy in type 2 diabetics, or do you think it's a little thick? It's a little thick. Yeah, that's why it causes joint problems. It can't get into the joints. Now, I've had a number of patients say, well, it runs in my family.
Mm-hmm. That's the norm. That's what you hear.
Yeah.
I used to hear that as well back home in Ireland.
What do you tell them when they say something that's completely ridiculous?
Well, you know, it's very hard to say to someone when they tell you that, to get them to change his or her mind, because, you know, they're set in their ways and bound by their perspectives. That's what they hear, that's what they know, that's what family tradition has dictated. Oh, my father died at 56, like my father did. You're probably going to die at 56. That's what I was told. But I'm not a smoker. My father was a heavy smoker. My brother died very young. I have two brothers that just died in the last couple of years. So I broke that tradition because I don't drink and I don't smoke, and so I don't have that issue. So you got to really create an awareness for people. You got to give them information. It's okay, Dr. John, to tell somebody something, but to show them and hold their hand, really, that's what we have to do. It's a significant amount of work and it's very exhaustive, but you got to give them information to read, get them to tune into programs like this so that they can wake up to the possibility that maybe I wasn't doing things right the way I thought I was or how I was told. Because I grew up in a very beautiful family and back home, but I was the most naive kid on the planet. I believed everything a doctor told me. I believed everything I read on the news. I read everything I saw on the news. I read everything I saw in the newspaper. I believed that until I came to America, and it really opened my eyes to my naivety.
Understand, type 2 diabetes is not type 1.
Right.
Okay, type 1 diabetes, there's not enough insulin.
Pancreas is shot.
And that's from generally environmental toxins, okay, that we can't talk about.
Right.
Type 2 diabetes is the whole job of insulin is to go up, knock on the cell door, glucose runs out of the blood into the cell. Well, they call it insulin resistant because there's tons of insulin. So the insulin keeps knocking on the door and the cell just says it ain't gonna open. So they call it insulin resistant. But remember, triglycerides are coming from too many calories in the body. Too many calories is going to be an excessive glucose. So what I tell patients, and I had, oh my God, okay, like 5 years ago, I had a 24-year-old gal that comes in and I says, yeah, you know, within a month, your blood sugar is going to be normal. You're not going to have type 2 diabetes. And I tell her some things she's going to do, and she said, this is totally different than my doctor who's managing my diabetes. Yeah. I said, yeah, I don't want to manage it, just want to fix it. It's a blood poisoning. It's not a disease.
Yeah, most people don't want to hear things like that because it's not the norm. Because, you know, when you go through grad school, you're told a certain thing by a pharmaceutical company. You're told this is what we have to do. This is the messaging. This is all the dogma. And it's been used, as I mentioned earlier, from the beginning of time when we first had radio and newspapers when they first started coming out. It's all about programming. I can put the lights on in my backyard for my dogs on and off twice. They come running. They know it's time to go to bed. So if you can program animals that way, like Pavlov, they've programmed human beings this way as well. And it's amazing for me to watch as a professional in our industry, the decisions that people have made in the last 2 years. It's just absolutely incredible what I witnessed and observed, as I'm sure all of you have as well. And you wonder what drink they were on.
And that's the beauty of this, because the way life is going, people are seeing this pendulum go so far to one side,
right,
where families are split up. You can't talk to each other. There's more censorship, and people think it should be censored. You shouldn't say that. Okay, that you're not supposed to wear this. Then you are supposed to wear it. Then you're supposed to wear two of them. Then they don't work. You know, I mean,
should you smoke a cigarette with one?
Well, it's supposed to reduce your levels.
I saw that happening on the freeway. I almost went off the road when I saw that. I cannot figure that one out.
So your body is responding correctly based on the stimulus. Bam, right. British Medical Journal. If you take a drug to lower your blood glucose when you have type 2 diabetes, you lower it 9%, fantastic. Doctor's happy, you have a 14% or 19% increase in death. That's bad. So it's a blood poisoning. You don't want to drug a poisoning. You don't want to drug an adaptation to stress. That's foolishness.
And the body doesn't recognize these foreign invaders in the first place when I'm talking about these meds. It just doesn't know what it is. Hence the reason why people have so many ab reactions. I had that type of reaction when I was a young man. I was afraid of the dark. I had terrible problems with my feet. I was a great athlete. My feet were really, really sore. My late parents took me to the doctor. They gave me a whole bunch of medications, and I thought the boogeyman was coming after me. So I ran out of our farmhouse in the middle of the countryside, thought the guy was after me, some imaginary guy. And I eventually woke up because my feet went into water, and I walked back in a conscious state. Remember, I was unconscious from the medication, and my late mother spent 2 days taking thorns out of my legs because of the side effects of the medication. That's what woke me up, and this is why I do what I do, and write the books and do the shows.
What would you do if someone came to you with a blood poisoning and they called it type 2 diabetes? What would your approach be?
Well, my approach would be probably the same as yours, but probably very different, and yours would be much more academic and much more clinical as a result from what I would do. Obviously, I take a look. You have to take a look at physiology. You have to look at the body-mind. You got to take a look what's going on in the family dynamics. You want to take a look at the dietary habits that we have. We're just simply the most overfed, undernourished nation in the world. We just eat more ding-dongs, breakfast burritos, chimichangas, burgers, fries, Cokes, soda pops, big gulps. You have to be carried out of the theater. I mean, I go into the theater to see a movie recently, and it looked like the wildebeest had been in there because there's popcorn and ketchup all over me. And I don't eat that kind of food. I'm vegan, vegetarian. So there's different approaches, Dr. John. That's kind of my old-fashioned way of looking at things, how I grew up. So I would take a look at the whole picture. I'd get a whole picture of what that person is consuming on a daily basis. Then I look at the family dynamics, because I'm a doctor of psychology as well. So I take a look at all those things, and then I give them an opportunity to get well, but they got to take responsibility. That's the biggest challenge. That word is not a word that people like. They don't like taking responsibility for their life. But generally, there are things that happen in your life. Sometimes you have no control over, like a divorce or death in the family, these types of things. Like I lost my 2 brothers in the space of 3 years, lost my papa, lost my mom, I lost my fiancée to ovarian cancer. So this is why I'm so incredibly passionate about the work you do and bringing that message to people. There is hope. There is an opportunity for you to get well, but you got to take the first step. Shakespeare says a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So we've got to do that.
And that's the key. When people ask, what's the secret diet? There isn't any.
There isn't any.
I mean, when you look at our population, I mean, we're surviving in the Sahara, surviving in Alaska. And so when you
It's different for everybody.
When you get insane people saying, yes, it's climate change, that's what's causing heart issues. How could you say that?
Yeah.
Okay. So I tell people, look, you're going to eat exactly what your great-great-grandparents ate.
Yeah, part of the CPU, someone told me recently, part of the CPU has gone offline. We've really gone offline recently. And so we just got to be loving. I think one of the most important things is acceptance, love, understanding, compassion, mindfulness, aware, and then, of course, really helping people understand that their way of doing things maybe is not working if you're an authority like what you are, what you do.
When you said aware, being aware that the authorities that you've abdicated your health to are not working on a basis of science. Science is always
evolving.
changing, always. There is no the science. I mean, if we practiced like 100 years ago, by gosh, you need a good bleeding and a shot of mercury, doc.
And a couple of leeches, leeches on your skin. That'll get you well. I mean, you want to think about what we have done to ourselves.
Yeah.
Psychologically, physiologically, mentally, emotionally. So we just got to be aware and practice really good habits and pay it forward.
It's arrogance and ignorance is what we're exposed to.
Yeah, for sure.
Take charge of your health. Now this one here, glyphosates.
Yeah.
Now, of course, the 3-lettered authorities that approved it as generally recognized as safe. There was no human studies or anything, and now we have a cancer belt 500 miles either side of the Mississippi because you're spraying this on stuff, on plants that we're supposed to eat, and it's literally poisoning our population.
I replaced my gardener momentarily while I went out of town on a holiday 2 years ago. I love animals. I would adopt every animal in the world. I know you do too. You love animals. And the new gardener, while he was there, while the other gentleman was on vacation, he sprayed my property with Roundup. And I came back and my little dog Ophelia was dead. So you can imagine how I feel about that. And of course, it's just awful what we have done, not only to ourselves, but also to our planet. So we poison our food and we do other stuff that we just has no science whatsoever. It's all experimental in nature. We make poor dietary habits. We literally poison ourselves with the choices that we make on a daily basis. We're taking in so much medication, and we're not aware, and we're rushing and not making wise decisions, because these decisions can really hurt you, and it has, as you know.
It has. You can't have a culture with monocrops. And I was talking to a
Genetically
senator
modified
back.
crops.
It's crazy because it's set up for failure.
You know, Dr. John, that's a very interesting thing. You should say that. Several years ago, when I came to this country from my native Ireland, I met a guy from Australia. I heard his accent. He heard my accent. I asked him what he did for a living. He said, I'm a food engineer. Now, I had no clue, coming from the farm in Ireland, what that meant, because we just gather potatoes and boom, ready to go. And he said that I can genetically modify everything in the store. And we were in a grocery store in LA. I said, what do you mean? He says, I can genetically modify everything that has no expiration dates, so we don't know what we're eating. So that's what we've done to ourselves. And you wonder why the youth of today, their concentration levels are a disaster. You wonder why we're the most overfed, undernourished nation in the world, why clinical obesity has skyrocketed, diabetes has gone up 500 or 600%, why we have these things when our food supply is tainted. And then we put foreign substances in our body that was never supposed to be there in the first place. So we have, as you and I talked about on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, complete and utter collapse of the healthcare system in this country. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And it's really sad, because our children are now being injured more so than ever before. And our parents are dying off, and grandparents are dying off. And it's a vicious, vicious cycle. Time to stand up and make new decisions.
And people are waking up to the fact. So
sure
when
are.
we talk about cholesterol,
Yeah.
okay? And this one here, the ugly side of statins, okay? Indiscriminate acceptance of novel mainstream therapies is not always advisable or prudent in requiring of unearthing the covert side of the effects. I know what you're thinking about. Are we talking about? No, we're not. It's a drug. It's a statin, so don't think about this.
Multi-billion dollar industry.
Okay. Furthermore, statins are associated with triple the risk of coronary artery and aortic calcification. So when we're talking about cholesterol-lowering drugs or cholesterol, you've got one type that actually is for tissue repair, and that's low-density lipoprotein. And ignorant Pez dispensers will say that's the bad cholesterol. No, it means you got tissue damage, or you've got some need of hormones. HDL isn't good cholesterol, it's still cholesterol. It's just going back to the liver. 80% of your cholesterol is produced.
But we're told that it's good. We're told that if it's high, then it's really good.
Yeah.
The numbers are good. HDL, high density lipoproteins.
How do I raise my cholesterol? Your cholesterol levels are absolutely normal for what you're experiencing. Mm-hmm. How do I lower my blood pressure? Your blood pressure is absolutely normal for what you're experiencing.
And they keep adjusting the numbers continuously, so they can get you to do anything you want, really.
Now, wouldn't it be weird, okay, and I know cholesterol or statin medications are one of the most profitable ones around, if this was the only article, but it's not. Here, there's the British Medical Journal. High low-density lipoprotein is associated with lower mortality. Oh my God, I thought that was the bad cholesterol. World Journal of Cardiology. We conclude that the expectation that coronary heart disease could be prevented or eliminated simply by reducing cholesterol meds or by reducing cholesterol appears to be unfounded.
And something else, Dr. John, some of these studies, I mean, in the British Medical Journal, it's a prestigious journal, but a lot of it is paid for by the cartel, the pharmaceutical cartel, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's hard.
So it's very skewed.
Look at the studies, because there's a lot of studies out there that talk about how mercury is good for you. You know, a lot of studies out there. Agent Orange, I remember a guy drinking it in the 70s. Now I've got a ton of patients who've had the exposure. Here's one too, World Journal of Cardiology. Statin trials conducted after 2005 failed to demonstrate a consistent mortality benefit, because before 2005 they lied on the studies. If you're running a company and you're going to do studies for a big pharmaceutical company, guess what? You got to show a positive result. You show a negative result, you're not going to get work. Okay, statins stimulate hardening of the arteries and heart failure. The epidemic of heart failure and atherosclerosis plaguing the modern world may be aggravated by the pervasive use of statins.
Yeah, my father died from coronary thrombosis, hardening of the arteries. That's what we were told. He was 56. He was a heavy smoker. my brother Willie, he died of the same thing. It's interesting. So, and then my brother Charles, I still don't know whether he got this or not, but he died of a blood clot just recently. So I've had a lot of challenges with my family.
Buddy, you watched that action there. I think that got me kicked off of TikTok.
It did. We'll take over the company.
I didn't see him do that either, so don't worry.
I did that because I saw you do it.
I got some license with this stuff.
I can defend you, though.
I know, appreciate that. Myocardial function, heart muscle function, okay, and that's out of the clinical cardiology. Statins, out of the Journal of Atherosclerosis. Increased plaquing in the arteries. Man, increased plaquing, that sounds bad. Okay, statins could increase second stroke in patients. What do they give patients who've had a stroke? Cholesterol-lowering drugs. If you have tissue damage, does your body want to repair the tissue? Yes or yes. What's going to be elevated? The LDL. That's how the tissue gets repaired. And this is what I tell patients. They say, well, his cholesterol is really high, and the doctor said he's going to have another stroke. No, his body's trying to repair from this one.
It's self-generating that we talked about earlier. It knows, it has this remarkable innate intelligence, knowing it's adaptogenic in nature. It knows what to do, where to go, just like your GPS on your car most of the time.
So the thing is, when your body is on this environment, it's functioning correctly based on the stimulus. If you are toxic and deficient, your body's going to have elevations in blood pressure, blood sugar, you're going to have arterial damage. Your body literally will not build cells faster than they break down. They're going to break down faster than they build. That's it. Okay, you're designed to live here. You're built by God. Yeah.
Crisis mode, for sure. But there are things you can do. That's why we do what we do.
Okay, now, we're going to be leaving the world where we're very polite. Okay, we're going to get into a different realm here because we used to have freedom of speech, but, we can't do that. Okay, so really thank you so much for YouTube and Facebook. You guys are wonderful. If you want to continue on this, you can see the Dr. B VIP, and I'd refer you to my TikTok channel, but that's been deleted because I said something not right. So I'll see you later.